Greetings, Quester, and welcome to the Quest Report with Matt and Richard.
Okay, welcome to our Quest Report, and this time we're going to fulfill a promise that we made right back in the first episode, where we said we would have a rant about Martians.
Now that's a callback.
Yeah. So Martians is a game by, I'm going to read these names, Krzysztof Walitsky and Grzegorz Oklinski. We tried to play this a few weeks ago, and we had the instruction manual out, didn't we? And we had the entire game out actually on the table, and we started reading the instructions. Actually, you'd been reading them earlier on in the day and not really got very far with them, and it was just completely incomprehensible. And this has been actually translated from Polish, hasn't it? I mean, we can kind of tell that, but even without the slightly odd sentences, it was very difficult to understand what was going on.
And we could see right from the start that there was likely to be problems here. I mean, one of the first things you see when you open the rulebook is the newspapers.
Oh yeah.
There's the newspaper segments, which are before the actual game. They're just fluff, really.
To give it a bit of story.
Yeah. They're not actually they're not essential to the game itself in any way, shape or form. However, you look at the first paragraph in the newspaper and it goes on for nearly 3 lines and then just starts right from the beginning again.
Yeah.
There's some really bad editing here.
Actually, yeah, I noticed a few of that. Like, the newspaper articles were really long-winded and didn't actually say much. Just as an example, the amended schedule and mission objectives include an acceleration of future flights thanks to raised funds. So that's just... It's a very strange way of putting it. And, it doesn't really seem like a newspaper.
It was a very strong hint right from the start that there was going to be problems with this. And then... but that in itself isn't a problem, isn't it? It's once you get into the game setup, really, that it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And, for example, when we were looking at the rulebook and... how you set up the board and everything. 1 minute it's talking about the water treatment centre, and the next minute it's talking about the water treatment station.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, well, this sometimes it's calling things by different names within the space of a sentence.
We had no way to know if they were different things.
Yeah. And if you're going to make a rule book, you've got to get it right. And it's not just about the translation here, is it? It's just badly laid out. Certain things are badly explained.
Well, just for an example, there are different modes of playing this game. I think that's quite a good feature, actually.
That's actually one of my favourite things about this game, the fact that you can play it in different styles.
We have the solo mode, which probably would be quite good for getting to know how it actually works, wouldn't it, really? You can spend as much time as you need. Then there's co-op, and then semi-co-op, where you're kind of working together, but your resources are your own, and you can choose whether to share them or not. And then there's competitive. But what they've done is, for the instructions, you've got just all these different columns on each page for each game mode.
Yeah.
So every time you are trying to find out if what the rule might be for something, you've got all these little boxes. So that's quite useful when you go back to clarify a rule. But when you're actually trying to just read the instructions and learn how to do them,
you've also got the errata, haven't you?
Yeah, there's the
which
errata as well.
comes with the game.
So they kind of knew that.
Yeah, they knew that the mistakes had been made, and there's frequently asked questions. Well, there's 27 before the game's even released, and then there's all the various clarifications for certain pages, and even with that is still virtually incomprehensible at first.
Well, there's the fact that we didn't manage it that first time. That kind of shows.
Well, I'd read so much of the rulebook before you came round that time, and then we tried to sit down and work it out together, which is something we sometimes do when we're looking at playing a game for the first time. And then on top of that, we then had to... I mean, we've spent about an hour or two trying to get our heads around it, and in the end we just thought, shove it, let's play something else. This is just making us mad. And then we said, right, well, we're going to go back to this at a later time. So we went through the rulebook again. I think I went through it twice. We watched a video with Rado to look at how he did his playthrough of it.
Yeah, and the video helped a lot more than reading the rulebook several times.
Even though Rado himself at times was correcting himself as he was going along, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was doing something,
but
and
it
then
still
realised
made
he
more
couldn't do
sense
it.
than the rulebook.
Yeah, well, he put little corrections on the screen.
Yeah.
So that really his video was great actually. But we
Big
thought,
shout out.
Yeah, I mean we thought he could probably slow down a bit. He seemed to be rushing a lot.
That's because he didn't. That's because he wanted to get away from this game as fast as he possibly could.
Yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, but I would be if his video had been like twice as long, but he kind of relaxed a bit. I would have still been quite happy to watch it.
Yeah.
Because it was quite good to see how it was played. I don't think if it hadn't been for that video, we wouldn't have managed it even that time as well.
No, and I think the thing is here, we've got to, because we're going to be talking in a few moments about the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're designing a game, no matter how good the game is, you've got to get the rulebook right. Because if this is incomprehensible, nobody's going to want to play your stinking game. I mean, the amount of people I know who backed this at Kickstarter were looking forward to it, and then as soon as they saw how bad the rulebook was, they literally sold it on without even opening it. Because they just thought they didn't want to spend so much effort trying to learn how to play your game. You know,
I do think they would have missed out on a good game by doing that. But then it's not really their fault.
No, it's the fault of the company. And if you're gonna, as I say, that getting your game rulebook right, whether it's translation, whether it's the way it's laid out, the way it's explained, if you can't get that basic right, you shouldn't be putting that game out. Because, as I say, otherwise you bury and hide a good game. Now, there is an update from Redimp, and this is a statement, so I'll read this directly. This is what they've said. Forgive the grammar. We are working hard on the new, better rulebook, taking into consideration all suggestions of people who have already played the game.
Okay.
In other words, they're looking at it, and we're going to be getting a new, better rulebook for this. Now, hopefully, that will be a rulebook that won't make me want to feed this to my pet wolf, because this rulebook is the single worst rulebook I've ever had the mispleasure to have to sit and read through.
That's saying something.
Yeah, and believe me, I've seen some dodgy and questionable rulebooks in my time. But the last thing I saw a book that bad, it had Stephanie Meyer's name all over it. Now, I will say,
maybe she wrote this.
When it's not that bad. Okay. And I will say that underneath this atrocious excuse for a rulebook is actually a decent game.
Yeah,
and I think that's such a shame. I would have been happier if I'd got through this and the game itself was dreadful. Because then I would have felt I can complain all I want about the rulebook and feel justified in hating the game.
I wonder how much we just enjoyed the game because it was quite exhilarating to have managed to get through all that.
I wonder how much we enjoyed the game because we were no longer reading the rulebook.
Yeah, maybe there's that as well. Yeah, so normally we start these videos by explaining like the general rules of the game, but we thought this time we'd have to just explain that nobody knows how you play this game.
Well, in fairness, we did eventually manage to figure it out, and once we'd done that,
we were one of the few.
It was it did have a nice flow to the game. There were symbols on the board which helped explain, what things cost and what you were doing. But to put it simply, the game is objective based, isn't it? You are raising resources, and then you're sending them to the base quarters on Mars to cure diseases, to provide oxygen for your people, to provide food. And the way you do that is by producing resources, by taking actions on the board. They give you resources. You then use those resources to convert them to food, medicine, oxygen by taking other actions. And then you send that to your quarters. And at the start of each round, you get hunger tokens, oxygen tokens, and disease tokens on the quarters, and you're going through trying to remove those while at the same time
that is
completing an objective.
That needed to be more. I don't think it should be called the oxygen token. It should be called like the suffocating token, because it isn't oxygen. It's
the token of asphyxiation.
Yeah, so they are privatives. These things. It denotes. So the hunger token, that's a bit more obvious, but that oxygen token, I think that's a little bit misleading. So basically,
because when I saw that at first, I was thinking, oh, this puts oxygen into the building, and actually we're trying to then get rid of that, and I was thinking we're monsters trying to suffocate our people, but that's not really what we were doing.
So what it basically is we are the second lot of colonists that have come over. So the colony is already built on Mars, and people have been there for a few years, and then we go there, just find out what state it's in, and we have a different objective each time. So the one we did was
there are loads of these, aren't there?
That is a good thing. So we just did Dust Gremlins, that's like the first one that you meant to do, I suppose. And there is this Moxie module. No,
the Moxie V3 generator.
Yeah, that's it. And it has modules, that's it. So the Moxie thing, that produces the oxygen. So by going to there and using it, using energy there, you get to take away these anti-oxygen symbols, and then your people can breathe. Yeah. And then at the end of the round,
which is a good
nobody
thing.
Dies. Yeah, breathing's
it's
good.
All good.
Yeah, they should clarify that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, oxygen is the the first thing, the least thing that you want from a colony.
It is really, yeah.
And also, in this scenario we were playing, as well as having to keep people alive and fed by getting resources to remove the tokens, we also had to fix the Moxie generator because it was damaged. So we had to install new Moxie modules.
Yes.
And there were a series of Moxie failures, and you had to install a new one for each one. And there were four of those, weren't there?
Yeah, so there were, along this this objective card, there were the modules we had to repair. So, like, while we were trying to mine and produce food and water, like you get water from, you mine these little crystals, and these are dirty ice.
Yeah.
And then you have to put them through the treatment facility, and like that's just to get the water, and then you can synthesize the water into medicine. That's quite like, if everybody gets diseased, it's quite difficult to cure it.
And so you're doing this, and now it's a lot of this is basic worker placement, isn't it? In itself, at its heart, it's a worker placement game.
So you have these little guys.
Yep.
That are the your astronauts. They're kind of, they would have been Meeples, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Like us, but you got the thing. Yeah.
And
the Kickstarter.
And you get 3 of these in your player colour, and you can end up with a 4th colonist as well, can't you? As well as having your 3 workers.
Yeah, we didn't, did we? But
no, we didn't.
If you do really well, you can end up with a 4th one.
Yeah, we didn't do that well. We did win the scenario, though.
But they were dying and diseased while they were doing it. But the Moxie generator was working. Yeah. It's just there's nobody to provide oxygen.
They had their oxygen. But yeah, we ended up beating the scenario. But one of the things that was interesting with this scenario as well was that you had, until you'd fixed and installed certain modules, then you had different random events that would come out and that would cause, certain effects based on which modules were still broken. So that was a positive. That was an interesting thing. Things I liked about this game, I liked the time mechanic. I liked the way, because you have 3 units of time, don't you?
This is a great service that Matt's just doing to everybody, explaining what the time is on this game, because they keep mentioning it in the rulebook, but I think there's one little sentence hidden somewhere that explains what it actually is.
Each player on their turn gets 3 units of time. Now, that can be modified by certain effects in the game, and you can get upgrades that give you an extra unit of time. But you get 3 units of time, and you put your meeples out. Now, that's not 3 times as in 1 per meeple. You can maybe take an action with a single one of your workers, or meeples, or astronauts, and in taking that action, you might spend 1, 2, or 3 of your time units. However, whereas, say, a lot of worker placement games, think of Lords of Waterdeep as an example, once you've got all your guys on, all your meeples or workers on the board, at the end of the round, you get to take them back. In this, you have to take what's called a recreation action, which is where you spend 1 unit of time to recall all of your workers.
I don't know why it's called recreation. I wonder if that's a mistranslation or something.
There's probably not that much recreation on Mars, is there?
Imagine they're just playing basketball on the way back.
But you spend your unit of time and bring all your workers back. So there's a lot of the time on your turn you're thinking about how you can get the most advantage from placing your workers on the board in order to spend the 1 unit of time, because you don't necessarily spend that every turn. Because if you think, well, I've got this action I want to take, and it's going to cost 2 of my time units. I'm going to go there with that guy, and then I'm going to take this action, which doesn't cost time, and you may end up sometimes bringing them back halfway through the next round, depending on what you want to do, and sending another one out. Yeah, so you've got to try and maximise how you use that time, and I think that is an interesting mechanic. I like the various modes this has, although I do think that with the competitive mode, it would be very easy to go out of the game early on and have to sit there for another 2 hours while people were playing this around you.
Yeah, maybe.
But the problem for me was that when we played this game, I was still feeling quite hostile towards it because of how bad the rulebook was. I am looking forward to seeing what Red Imp offer up as a new and improved rulebook. But I'm sure we'll review it. Under this, I'm not going to swear on this channel. Under this poor excuse of a rulebook is actually a smooth game, a good game that's quite versatile, has lots of different scenarios, and actually a lot of the production quality is quite high, isn't it? We've got the 3D markers, for example. We've got the little astronauts. We've also got, which came as an upgrade for the Kickstarter, we've got the 3D buildings, which add to it because they just sit on the map in place of the printed artwork, don't they?
Yeah, that made it a bit nicer.
And all the tokens and everything are fine. I think the thing is here, if you've got the patience, or if someone in your gaming group has got the patience to work through this rulebook on your behalf, and then just summarise the rules and explain it to you and get you going, this is actually a game I think people would probably quite enjoy if they like worker placement.
Yeah, if they like that, or if they like kind of hardish sci-fi anyway, because that's one of the nice things I thought about it. I like the idea of colonising Mars and kind of encouraging that kind of thing anyway, and thinking about what kind of problems we'd have if we were to colonise Mars as well. I mean, it's not just about like getting air and water. It's very, very dangerous, and like the effort you have to go to just to not have people die between rounds. Yeah. I think I felt we were really kind of accomplishing something each time we got to the next round, and that's what I really enjoyed. Like you say, the worker placement aspect of it, it was quite different. So it didn't feel like just playing a different game, like a game we already kind of knew, but on Mars. It did feel like its own unique type of game. Once
we got into the game, I did find it quite immersive. I will say that, you know, and there has been obvious comparisons, I think, to Terraforming Mars by Stronghold Games, and I think once you've played it, you realise that is entirely down to the fact that they're both set on Mars. The actual two games themselves are completely different games. You know, they don't really deserve a comparison at all. If you like Terraforming Mars, that's no reason to think you'll like this, and vice versa.
Right. Okay.
Though, personally, I do think components in this are a lot better than on Terraforming Mars, but Terraforming Mars probably has a better game. Right. But as I say, if you manage to work through the rulebook and you get through that, I would say that this is actually a decent game. It's not what I had thought. I'm probably going to get rid of this because of how bad the rulebook is, how much it annoyed me. But you know what? This is going to stay in the collection.
Yeah, good.
Richard, what were your final thoughts on the game?
Well, like I said, I really like the theme, and I did enjoy it. And I think I would be interested to find out what it's like, maybe as a semi-co-op or maybe a competitive. But I do, if I have the choice, I do generally prefer cooperative games than competitive ones, because I prefer us all working together against the environment rather than...
It makes it more social, doesn't it?
Yeah, more social and a bit more immersive, I think, because we're thinking about how we can actually overcome the problems. We're going to be talking about that, rather than thinking about what the person across the table might be thinking or thinking of doing, because that just takes me out of it, just personally. So... yeah, I would like
these views are Richard's and not the views of...
Yeah, that's it, yeah. No, that's only just if we've got the choice. I do like playing competitive games.
Well, the thing I like about this game is that you've got the option. You can play it competitive, you can play it cooperatively, you can play it solo. There's not that many games out there that have those 4 modes built into them.
No, not many.
And someone was asking me this week, which, what solo games would I recommend that they could then play with other people if the opportunity arose. And actually, I have to admit, this would probably make that list.
Yeah.
Provided that you could get your head around the rulebook. Now, it may be that once this new rulebook comes out, that's not going to be a problem anymore. But if you do have this game, stick with it. Don't let the rulebook defeat you. If for no other reason than having the pride and joy of saying, I played this and I beat the rulebook.
That was the real victory, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. More so than fixing that Moxie generator. We read the rules.
Yeah. So, that was our thoughts on this game. If you've tried it, if you've been put off by the rulebook, let us know in the comments what your experiences were. Thank you.
Farewell, Quester. To find out about other productions by the Meddlesome Meeples, then check out our channel or rendezvous with us at meddlesomemeeples.com. Until next time, Quester, farewell and keep thine axe sharp.